Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for bearing with me. We are talking about butt play, the peach. This is my book, Anal Sex Basics. So I want to share some tips on pleasure, on toys, on how to be safe, how to ensure that it's pleasurable, and oh, thanks for all the hearts there. That makes life so much better. And here are my notes I'm going to pick up again. So without further ado, my name's Carlyle, and I'm, bye Greg, thanks, the founder of Good for Her, and butt play is near and dear to my heart. So I want to start off by saying, clearing up some of the myths. Playing with your butt or somebody else's butt will not change your sexual orientation. It hopefully will not hurt, and I want to really emphasize how to make sure that it won't hurt in our video today. You should not tear. It's not going to tear from your butt to your vagina as long as you take precautions and go nice and slowly. It's not going to cause hemorrhoids unless you're forcing something in there that really your body is resisting, because as long as things are relaxed, it will not create hemorrhoids. And it's not going to leave you wearing diapers for the rest of your life. I am not wearing diapers. Most of the people that I know who have anal pleasure don't wear diapers. The only way that you're going to end up wearing diapers is if you put something up your butt that doesn't have a flared base, like an eggplant or a carrot or I don't know what else. Talk to anybody who's worked in an emergency ward, and they will tell you the kinds of things they have pulled out of people's butts. And my nephew has informed me, who works in an emergency room, that if they have to go in to retrieve something, that's when maybe you will have problems with continence and have to wear diapers. So just getting all that out of the way. One of the things I usually recommend is to play with your own butt first. This is a great way to get to know your body, just like any other thing around sex. Knowing your own body means that you can communicate that, you know what you like, that you can tell your partner what to do, will make you a better lover on your partner, because no matter what kind of genitals they have, our butts are the equal opportunity orifice, and you'll be able to do more or less the same thing with their butt as you do with yours, with some slight differences. The other thing that I want to kind of clear up is that a lot of people assume that when you do butt play, you're going to encounter a whole bunch of poop there. Just to be clear that our intestines, the colon, the rectum, that's all a passageway. Things just pass their way through. They're not sitting there. As long as you have Goldilocks poops. What are Goldilocks poops? Not too hard, not too soft, just right, the way Goldilocks likes them. So if you have Goldilocks poops, then there won't be much poop left behind or sitting around in your rectum. If you tend to get constipated, then you might have a fair bit more. If you tend to have runny poos, then you're going to have sort of a little bits left in there also. So starting off with that, the other thing is that pain is your body's response system saying you're doing something wrong, right? That's why when you touch a stove and it hurts, it means like you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to burn your skin, so take your hand off. Same thing with butt play. Pain means you need to do something different. Either add some lube, go a little slower, maybe try internal stimulation the next time. Maybe you're poking into the side of the rectum. Maybe you should change the angle. So pain is a good indication that you need to do something differently. So please pay attention to that. And don't use lubes that have desensitizers in them, because then you're letting go of that really important pain indicator that that means you need to change something and do something differently. Okay, another thing I mentioned already, get something with a flared base. So something that will, prevent it from getting pulled in. Okay, so anything with a flared base is really, really important. Another safety element, don't share your toys. We have different ecosystems, flora and fauna in our butts. So you want to make sure that you are not sharing that with your partner. Even if you're sharing sexual fluids, the only way you want to share your butt toys is putting a condom on it or boiling it if you can. So a toy that's made of silicone that doesn't have a vibrator in it. So this one you can put a little vibrator in. You'd need to take that out first, otherwise the vibrator won't work very well afterwards. This is silicone. It's essentially non-porous. So any poop or any bacteria that's on there when you, after you wash it, is pretty much gone, but you can put it in a pot of boiling water for 3 minutes. Make sure you watch it because we get lots of people coming in here who have to replace their toys because they put it in the pot and then they went to do something else and they totally forgot about it and it melted in the pot. So watch it for 3 minutes and then take it out, and then you can share it with your partner, or just use a condom if you don't have time to do that, or you each have your own toys. So that's how you want to clean most toys. If it's not made of silicone and it's soft, then it might be made of elastomer or latex. They tend to be porous, and they tend to then, you can't get in there in order to clean them. So you really do need to use a condom with these, and you can't boil them. Now, of course, there is metal or glass. These are fabulous. There's no porousness to them whatsoever. So you just want to, you can boil it, but the problem with these, if you boil them, then you have to give yourself an hour for it to cool down, because of course metal holds the heat really well. So washing it with soap and water, you can boil it if you want. Same thing with glass, you can boil them, is a great way to keep your toys nice and clean. One of the things that I like to do is I have a sex pot that's beside my bed, so I can put all of my things that I was using in the sex pot, and then I don't have to get up and wash them, and they're not on the floor, they're not on the bed. And I call it my sex pot because my partner's not interested in me making spaghetti in the same pot later on that day. So I have a specific pot designed for that, and then I can use that for boiling my toys and for keeping them clean before I get to that point. I also like to put down like a waterproof blanket so that I can play on there. We can get things messy. We can use massage oil, chocolate, whipped cream, lube, whatever, body juices, and then you just put it all off to the side and you can climb into bed or go about your day, go to work, whatever you want to do without having to worry about having to clean everything up. It's all there put to the side. Okay, so a couple other things. Lube. You really need lube when it comes to butt play. There's no natural lubrication up our butts, so it's definitely something that you want to have. There are gajillions of lubes out there. Once again, please don't use one with a desensitizer in them. There are some that are specifically designed for butts. So this is Pure Backdoor, and it is designed for butt play, and it's nice and thick. So you want something relatively thick for butt play. If it's runny, then it goes all over everywhere before you have a chance to put it where you want to put it. So there you go. It's nice and thick, and it will stay in place. Another one that is really great is Yes Butt, and it's even pH balanced for the butt. So the pH is different in vaginas and in butts. So this one is pH balanced, which I think is particularly good if you're someone who has IBS or things kind of go off for you on your butt. You don't necessarily want to mess up that balance. So that's what I would say is somebody might want to choose that in particular. It's also a nice thick lube and also very organic, which is important because our butt is a mucous membrane, so it absorbs. So you want natural things generally for your butt. Another natural option with lots of great ingredients is Sutil, which is Canadian. Yay! And even the packaging is biodegradable. Yay! And Sutil is a brand that has a really nice natural feel and natural ingredients and largely organic. Whoops. And nice and thick, and it's actually really long lasting for a natural lube. A lot of natural lubes, I find they dry out really quickly, and then you have to add more, and then they dry out, and you have to add more, and you have to keep interrupting what you're doing to add more lube. This one's really long lasting, even though it's natural. So it's a great way to go. This one's a little bit thinner. The gray one is a little bit thicker, and we have them on sale right now, actually, the large bottles. And it has horny goatweed in it, which, you know, can make everything a little bit more exciting if you want to do that. But again, if you're really sensitive, I would stick with the white one without all of the horny goatweed and the ginseng that's in there, because you just want to keep things a little bit more simple. Okay, so that's a little bit on lube. You can use like a coconut oil if you're using a silicone toy, and especially if you're not using latex condoms. Or even polyisopropylene non-latex condoms. Some are compatible with lube, oil-based, some are not. So generally stay away from oil-based lubes unless you're just using silicone toys, glass toys, metal toys, fingers, tongues, whatever, penises. Then it's a really nice long-lasting lubrication for that area. So you can use oil if you want also. Oh, I forgot to mention when it comes to cleaning, soap and water I mentioned. You can use like a toy cleaner. You don't have to. What I like about toy cleaners is there's a spray to it. So if you're in the middle of something you want to like quickly clean up, or sometimes I'll use it. I've already washed them, but they gathered a little bit of dust and I don't want to go into the bathroom. I just spritz a little bit on and just take it off with a little bit of a baby wipe, and then you're good to go. So you don't have to use fancy toy cleaners, but they're good on the go. All right. Somebody asked also about hygiene. So anal hygiene, if you're going to go internally, even externally, like have a shower if you can. Just get that area on the outside clean, especially if you got a hairy butt. You don't want those dingleberries hanging around. I just find it's nice to get clean before you have sex anyways. So use some soap and water, just, you know, massage your butt on the outside a little bit. It's a great way to kind of get yourself a little bit in the mood anyways and start stimulating those nerve endings, because lots of nerve endings are even just on the outside, right? So use a little bit of soap and water. If you don't have time to do that, like a baby wipe is good, just to kind of get rid of some of any of the bacteria there left over since you had your last bowel movement, right? So that's a good way to get yourself prepped for external play. If you're going to do oral anal stimulation, you can also use a dental dam. So some people will use saran wrap. I think it has to be non-microwavable saran wrap. Or you can have banana flavored anus, or mint flavored or grape flavored. One of the keys to using these though is that a lot of people put them against the butt and or the vulva and they pull it really tight. Well, then you can't really feel what's going on in here, right? Put a little lube on the underside, tuck it into all the nooks and crannies, and then you feel so much more when you're stimulating there. So you can use a dental dam if you're not sure about your partner's status of sexually transmitted infections, in particular hepatitis. So that's just one way of having a safer barrier. Sometimes it's just that, like, I don't know, you know, if I haven't had time to wash myself, I feel much more comfortable with you going down on me if I have a barrier, if you use a barrier. So sometimes it's just about comfort that way. So whatever your reasons, just use some precaution if you just feel more comfortable with that, or for safety. Now, some people will like to use a douche to clean out the inside. Again, you don't have to. Some people like to. If you're going to put something in, if you don't douche, what you will find is there might be little bits left on it. And in particular, I find just like underneath the ridge, right? If there's a ridge on a toy or a penis, that's where it kind of catches. So you get little bits there. So some people prefer to use something like this to clean out the insides. So this one's a little more flexible and a little softer, which some people like. This one's a little bit more firm. I find this works fine. What you want to do is you want to unscrew it. Then you put warm water in here, not hot, not cold. Test it here like you would like milk for a baby. Put the cap back on. Put a little bit of lube on the tip. Put it up your butt. Squeeze out the water. Don't suck the dirty water back up. Squeeze it out. And then go pull it out, sit on the toilet, and whatever comes out should be clear after you've done that a couple times. And then you're pretty clean and you're good to go. Don't use the fleet enemas that have chemicals in them, because then you're going to trigger a bowel movement, which might not come for an hour or two, which is maybe when you're in the middle of what's going on. So I like this way of going about it because it's pretty quick. It's pretty easy. You can just say like, oh, I'm just going to go freshen up in the bathroom and get yourself ready. So you can do that if you want, but you don't have to. Let's see. Okay, so that's a little bit on hygiene. Anything that comes out of the butt, you want to make sure that you don't obviously go from the butt to the vagina, in particular not towards the urethra, not towards the mouth. You want to clean things first and wash your hands, just like we're all doing right now and like we all learned in kindergarten anyways, right? It's kind of like after you use the bathroom, after you do butt play, you should wash your hands. Other hygiene things, just keep your toys safe and separate when you're cleaning them. Like put it in your sex pot first. Okay. One of the things that people start doing when they decide they're going to have anal sex, and by the way, if a guy says to me, let's have anal sex, I say, great, bend over, because you have a prostate and I don't. The reality though is a lot of people, when they say like, let's have anal sex, they mean, let me put something this size up your butt, which is a really big thing to start with. And the way it often starts for folks is they're like, okay, go ahead. Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm ready. And it's like, oh, it's not going in. Okay, I'll take another breath. It's not going in. That's because my head wants to trust my partner. My heart wants to trust my partner. My butt doesn't trust my partner, especially if last time we tried, it hurt. So what do you want to do? You want to seduce the anus. You want to make it relax, make it trust, and make it hungry for more. So lots of external play first. How do you want to do that? Well, you can use any vibrator, put a condom on it and just put it on the outside to vibrate. You can use your fingers to stimulate, and my favorite way to do that is with knuckles like this. Works really, really well just up against, in the crack of the butt, up against the anus. Feels amazing. Do that while you're going down on your partner. Feels awesome. You can use your tongue, we talked about. So give it a good 15, 20 minutes to play on the outside before you go in. And then you'll have the anus relaxed and it's going to say, ooh, now I want more. And then what you want to do is you want to put in something small, like a finger or a smaller toy. If you are going to put in your finger, I like to use black colored gloves for a couple of reasons. One is it usually matches my outfit, which is very important. Secondly, if I get a bit of poop on my fingers, I have very light skin. It's very obvious. This is a bit more of a camouflage. So I like a dark colored glove for doing that, because it just means that then you can't see it when your fingers come out. It's not as obvious. Gloves are great also, and we carry these gloves here, so you can order those if you want. The other great thing is that when I'm done, maybe my partner says like, oh, that was awesome, now I want to go down on you or whatever, and I take it off and I'm good to go. If I don't have gloves on and I pull my finger out, my partner says, oh yeah, I want to pleasure you. I'm going to be lying there thinking like, okay, don't touch the pillow. Don't let your finger touch the pillow. I'm not going to be really relaxed and enjoying what I'm doing. So gloves just make cleanup a lot easier also. Okay, so we've got gloves. We're going to go. So let's say your partner says, yeah, I want to go inside. Some people start with anal beads. Anal beads are great, but I'm not a big fan of them, and I'll tell you why. They tend to be kind of floppy. So you put a bunch of lube on them, and you put them in, and you put them in, and you put them in, and then here's your flared base. This is the flexi felix, so he's got a little happy face on the outside, so it's not going to go in any further. And then when you're having an orgasm or whenever you want, you pull them out, and the anal sphincter opens and closes as each one comes out, which is fabulous, feels great. Now, what do you do with this? If you want to put it back in again, how are you going to do that without touching the parts that were inside? Well, now you're touching, you're putting them back in, and then you put it back in, then you say, hold it right there, I'm going to go wash my hands and I'll come back. Or I have to take off gloves and put on another set of gloves, whatever. So I'm not a big fan of them because I find them not very practical. And if you've seen any of my other Facebook Live, Instagram Live photos, sessions, I'm very practical when it comes to sex. So what I prefer is either the Quattro or the Triton, depending on what size you like. This is a really nice beginner size. It's about finger width. Notice the color, it's black, right? Black toys are great for butt play. I can put a little vibrator in here to make it vibrate. And so I can insert it and you want to do really slow and gentle. When you have differences in ripple like this, you're not doing fast. Nice, slow, and gentle. You feel so much more that way anyways, and you'll get the nice ribbing, stimulating in and out. And you're not coming in contact with any part that was inside, so you don't have to go and wash your hands in between. So those are anal beads. Then there are plugs. This one also kind of functions like a plug. A plug has to have a neck, right, that will hold this at the opening of the butt. And then, so the anal sphincter will sort of hold there. So it'll stay in place. You can go play with the penis, the vagina, the clit, whatever else, while it just kind of stays in place. You can turn the vibrator on, and then you can pull it out later if you want. When this is inside a vagina, inside a butt, whatever you put next door inside the vagina is going to feel a little bit more intense because this is making the vagina a little bit tighter. So some people like that at the same time. So that's sort of a cross between between anal beads and a plug. These are more conventional looking plugs, and so you want to make sure it's got a good neck there so that it holds in place. And these ones come in a progression from 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And here what I've done is I've strapped a little bullet-shaped vibe to the base of it using something made out of bicycle tubing. Cut a little hole in bicycle tubing. If you place an order and you want us to add one of those to your order, just let me know, write it in the comments, and we will add it on, and then you have your vibe attached to your dildo or to your plug so that you can have it vibrating while you use it. All right, so those are silicone, they're soft. There are glass or metal plugs also. Glass is a nice material. Some people really like the warmth or the coolness that you can get from these two materials. Silicone warms up really nicely to your body temperature. If you put it under warm or cool water, it will give you that temperature, but it doesn't really hold it. It'll warm up really nicely to your body, whereas these will stay cool if you like that, or add a little bit more warmth if you like that. So glass is really beautiful, and it looks great to have that on the outside. It'll look just like this up the butts. That's really cute. This one's made by Enjoy, and Enjoy makes fabulous butt toys. So what people like about this is also it's the weight. So the weight against your anal sphincter. Now, if this goes inside someone who has a penis, they likely have a prostate, and if they're lying on their tummy, then this will also rest on the prostate, which will also stimulate that. So the prostate is up the butt towards the belly button. So the metal toys offer that kind of nice sensation. Now, these two metal ones are particular favorites. In fact, I know several people who have prostates who say this thing never makes it back into the box. This will never be destroyed. You can drop it on the ground as long as you don't, I guess, throw it into some super hot oven, I guess, with fire that they use to make these things. It will last you forever. So this one is great for the G-spot. It's also great for the prostate. You can use the smaller end or the larger end, and the natural angle on it means that you will really find your prostate or your partner's prostate. I don't generally recommend these kind of firm toys until you really know your butt or your partner's butt, because everything's going to feel a little bit different when you're exploring with butt play, and you want to make sure that the different is feels okay and that you're not harming yourself. So I recommend starting with something softer till you really get to know, okay, this is what it feels like in my butt. And then when you really know what feels right anally, when you've played a bunch of times, then you can play with something a little more firm so that you know whether it's okay or not. So the Pure Wand is a particular favorite. And this one has, noticed it's like anal beads on one side, so you can play with it going in and out safely, or you can just play with the prostate just with something smoother with the end on the other side. So this is a great, like, 2 toys in one that I'm a big fan of. And just so you know, we are having a sale, Peachy 10. You get 10% off if you purchase anything between now and Saturday, tomorrow, May 2nd at 4 p.m. So if you wanted to get anything, there's a little bit of an incentive there for you to purchase. Okay, other kinds of things. Then we get into vibrating toys. So this one I'm a particular fan of. This is the B-Vibe Petite. And it's really hard to see here, but if you've ever had a rabbit vibe that's got pearls, what they've done is they've put the pearls here in this neck part. And so what happens is that the most sensitive part for a lot of us, excluding the prostate, is that first ½ inch of the anal opening, where the anal sphincter is. That's the part that's kind of narrow. And that's where you're going to get all of that sensation. It feels amazing. And of course, it has a remote. So you can wear it out while you're doing your shopping. You can wear it to dinner. Of course, you can wear it while you're having intercourse or oral sex or whatever else you like to do. But this is a really, really great way to have more pleasure with those pearls right there. Okay, so I mentioned prostates. If you have a prostate, you might like something that, and I have a little bit of a diagram here. Here we are. Okay, so if you can see that, here is the penis going back. Notice how the penis extends back behind the testicles. So here you can stimulate the base of the penis. And therefore, a lot of people like to put something up the butt and to stimulate the prostate that's there, right? There we go, you can see there. And the perineum on the outside. So this will go in, and this is the Hugo, and there's also the Vic, will go and stimulate both the inside and the outside at the same time. And of course, there's a remote, because that's really important. So that makes everything a little bit more fun too. Now, another great way to stimulate the prostate. Look at that. Okay, here we go. We go back to our here. So here you're getting it winking. You've got the perineum, the base of the penis, and you're getting the prostate, and they're kind of being massaged together. So there's a little more stimulation. That's the Lalo Low-Key Wave. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So there's been some great advances around prostate and butt toys of late, which is great. So here's a look at if you have a clitoris and a urethra, a vagina, and a butt. There's the perineal sponge. So that's between the vagina and the butt. And some people like to stimulate that area. So here's the first ½ inch where we all have lots of nerve endings. And then a little bit deeper in, it's about a thumb depth in. is the perineal sponge. So some people say they can feel their G-spot from anal play, which could very well be, or it may be that you're getting your perineal sponge, but we don't really talk about that. People don't know that it's there. So internal stimulation with a little bit of curve can help with that. And here is the WeVibe Ditto, which also has an app, so you can control it from your smartphone, and somebody around the world can control it. And you can put this in where this aims towards the perineal sponge. Or you can do it the other way where it faces backwards and it's just filling up the butt a little bit more. So a couple different ways of using that. Really ingenious that they sort of put a bulb on one side, because some people might like it and some people might not. But that's the WeVibe Ditto, and it is really good and will stimulate that perineal sponge with some vibration, which is also a very lovely sensation. Okay, anything else I need to talk about before we go? This is a toy that we designed. It's made in Toronto. It's steel. We should have mentioned it when we were talking about metal toys. It's a Kegel exerciser. We called it the Steady. So you can use it as a Kegel exerciser for strengthening vaginal muscles. When you put the wide end in, it balances nicely and you get the nice ribs that you can stimulate by moving it in and out. And when you're a little bit stronger, you can put the smaller end in and you have to really squeeze to get that to balance out. Now, I also designed it so it would be really nice for butt play. You can insert the smaller end or the bigger end, depending on what you're used to. And it's really a nice, gentle ripple, kind of like the anal beads we talked about. This is not, again, for fast in and out. What I really like about this is that I get kind of lazy, and when I'm stimulating myself, I find that having, I don't want to work too hard. I don't want to have to do this. It's too much trouble. So I can get a lot of intensity with just really slow in and out. Slow in and out. So I don't have to work so hard and I can spend my time enjoying myself a little bit more. Of course, this you can also boil to sterilize, wash with soap and water, because we want to keep our butt toys clean when we use them, especially if we're going to later use them vaginally, right? You have to wash them in between. Okay, let's see. I want to talk about the internal condom. So this is, it's called the female condom or the reality condom, but a lot of people call it an internal condom because it was designed, or they say it's for vaginal play, but rumor has it that it was designed actually for butt play, but they could not get FDA approval for an item designed for an activity still illegal in many US states, so they called it the female condom. It works particularly well for butt play. So there's an inner ring, you squeeze it, you put it up the butt, and then the outer ring stays on the outside, right? So you can do a little bit of rimming, you can stimulate on the outside. Some people will take out the inner ring. You don't actually really need it. It doesn't do anything after that. It's just to help get it in. Some people will put it on their penis or their toy just like this. It's nice and large, and then insert it and just leave it in place. And then if you have enough lube, then it will stay there. So couple reasons why it's really fabulous. All of the lube stays in one place. Unlike when it comes to butts, there's no natural ending. All the lube keeps getting pushed up and you have to reapply. Here, it all stays in one place, so you don't have to keep reapplying it. The other thing that's great about it is that when it comes to butt play, there's sometimes some fecal matter, debris, whatever you want to call it, poop left behind on the inside, right? And sometimes if you're going back and forth over it, it can feel a little irritating. A little bit like if you're putting on massage or sunscreen at the beach and there's a little bit of sand, it doesn't feel very good when you're going back and forth over it. So what this does is it gives a little bit of a barrier so that if there's a little bit of poop there, it's not going back and forth over that, it's over top of the condom. It's kind of like if there was sand, but I cover that with my sweater, I'm not really rubbing what's underneath back and forth, okay? So I find it's more comfortable. And for a lot of people, you get all the pleasurable sensations of intercourse or whatever you like to do with your butt, but you don't get some of the discomfort, especially if you haven't cleaned yourself out or you tend to have a fair bit of stuff up your butt. So the condom is a really, really great way of making things more comfortable. It is also, so, generally we're not supposed to go from a butt to a vagina, right? Because we don't want to bring the bacteria. However, if you're careful and you go up the butt and then you go to the vagina, you're not coming in contact with any E. coli, with any bacteria. So it's the one way that you could potentially do that. You have to be really careful because you don't want to go in on the side, right? You have to make sure that you're going in there. The other great thing about it is that if my partner has a hard time keeping condoms, keeping an erection with condoms, my partner's not putting a condom on the penis. My partner is just going in and out. And so it means that they are more likely to maintain an erection. So the internal condom, great resource to use for butt play. And last but not least, I forgot to mention this at the beginning. When you're warming up, so we're going back again, even if you're really used to butt play and you can really just like jump right in and accommodate something that is, this size or whatever for butt play, it's nice to take a step back and start really enjoy the outside first. And one of my favorite toys for external play are these beads, right? You get these at the dollar store. Dragging them along in between the butt cheeks feels really, really awesome. Alternatively, you can use like a rubber flogger, right? Just nice up the crack of the butt. And if you get a rubber one, then you can wash it. Now, probably not something you would share between two partners, and it's not going to be super clean after you wash it, but okay for just a little gentle stimulation. So those are a couple ways that you can kind of warm things up. And lastly, about dildos, you can watch my other video on strap-ons and dildos because I went into a lot of detail about that. But basically something like the Mistress or the Fuse Velvet are great starter butt toys. If you can accommodate a couple, 3 fingers, then and you want to progress to intercourse, these are good widths that you can use. They're not too big. What I often say is, especially if you're starting out, don't put anything in that's bigger than what normally comes out because your body's used to that size, right? We have our bowel movements. So trying to go with something a little bit smaller, it's not a contest. It's not about how big you can put something in there. It's about how relaxed you are, how comfortable it is, how much pleasure you have, right? So you don't need to go super big. These are a good size to start with. And I don't generally recommend something really rippled, right? Again, unless you're really used to it. Something rippled like this is going to be really intense for the anal sphincter and the anal opening to be constantly doing this. So something smooth is generally much better to start with. Okay, I'm just looking around to make sure I haven't forgotten anything that I wanted to talk about. I think we're good. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Peachy 10 gets you 10% off if you want to purchase something today or up until 4 o'clock tomorrow. My name's Carlyle. This is my book, Anal Sex Basics. It's got lots of tips, whether you're starting out or you have done lots of butt play and are looking for some new ideas around prostate play, around positioning, around hygiene and comfort and techniques and all that kind of thing. So I will see you again next Friday. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but please leave some comments and give me some suggestions. What do you want me to talk about? We can talk about lubes. We can talk about dilators. We can talk about strengthening exercises. We can talk about books. We can talk about all kinds of things. So let me know what you want me to talk about. Love you lots. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support. I hope you're all staying safe, and I hope you're all well, and I hope everybody's being kind to each other and we're all get through this. All right. Have a great weekend.